Testing 1, 2, 3. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike. It is, the 28th of July today. How are you all feeling? Did the little tiny wick down scare you? Don't be worried. I don't think it's time for the correction just yet, and we're going to go through why on this stream. We have a busy show. As always, we always have a busy show, but today is no exception. We're going to talk a little bit about the FOMC meeting again. We're going to talk about inflows to Bitcoin and Ethereum. We're going to talk about ARK Invest and their investment into Solana. well, a Solana staking company. We're going to talk about a Sui treasury. I'm not a big fan. I'm not sold on this idea, but we're going to talk about that as well. We're going to talk about PayPal moving into crypto payments in a big way. That is massive, okay? It didn't really make the headlines because it's not up there with the likes of Sailor and that idiot Rich Dad Poor Dad. But PayPal moving into crypto is a big deal. We're going to talk about Binance Yield. They've got a real-world asset, 4.5% product that they've launched. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to talk about Slop. Okay? I'm not going to tell you what Slop is until we get to the end. A few good mornings before we crack on with the show. Hidden, KB, Mags, Bullish Bull, Kishan. You're all here. There's a few other people here that I can't see the names of because for some reason it's cut off. If you're new here, smash the like button and give us a follow. And we will get on with the show. No airs and graces today. Straight into it because we have a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, we're going to have a quick look at the market. And remember, while that is loading, if you are on Binance Square, we now stream on Binance Square. So we stream on Binance Live and, of course, on YouTube, for those of you who are on YouTube. But we're now streaming on Binance Square. Come and say hello. We're getting a couple of hundred a day, which isn't too bad. It's a new product. It's not really launched. We're kind of cheating the system appearing on there. Good morning to Peg. Good morning to Brett. Well, hopefully, if you watch on, we will give you some advice that will hopefully keep you happy. What we're doing then, Bitcoin coming in, hasn't really moved an awful lot since yesterday, still about 119,000. We did have a little bit of a wick down in the middle of the night, I believe. Ethereum coming in, still expecting $4,000. Now, tomorrow is going to be the day that breaks us, probably, and I'll be completely wrong, and we're going to come down. But we're going to find out tomorrow. XRP coming in, still at 317. Everybody's happy with that. BNB still 327. Solana has come down to 185. That's probably one of the biggest drops of the day. Doge hasn't moved. Tron is up. Cardano is back at its safe space, 80 cents. I don't make the rules. I just play the game. Hyperliquid is up a little bit, but it's a long way from catching that. And Sui, on the news that I'm going to tell you, that has actually come down an awful lot. You just can't predict it, can you? You can't predict it. Now then, gainers, Conflux, no idea. No idea. Nothing in the news why it's up 39%. Probably cover that either tomorrow or Friday. We don't know why that's up. Tron is up a little bit. Flare, XDC, Hype, and a few others. Now, this has been a little bit of a day of taking profits and retracements. The coin that I don't mention is down. I mean, this is now becoming a little bit of a running joke about me saying how low can it go. It can keep going lower. I said when it broke below $1 billion, it still got a little bit of room, but it's likely to bottom out. I told you about the news yesterday that they're going to have their own layer one. I said it's a waste of time. Again, markets haven't reacted very well to that at all. It's down another 12.5%. This could go to the few hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars. There's no reason it can't do that. But I do think they're allowing the price to die slowly so they can pick it up on the cheap. Why pay to buy pump.fun tokens when they're at 2 billion when they can buy them when they're at 600 million? Makes perfect sense. Let the market drain, let people sell off, and then come in, buy up the tokens, release the roadmap, do some kind of profit burn, do some kind of airdrop, whatever it might be, and watch that token fly. I am never going to buy that token. Athena is down a touch. PancakeSwap the same. Sky, WorldCoin, Bonk, Pepe. Now, also, a lot of people have been asking me about the midnight airdrop. Good morning, Manjeet. Good morning in the know. I hope you are both well. The midnight airdrop, we have a tweet about it, which we're going to cover in a minute. So if you want to know about the airdrop, hang on. We're going to get there. It's a big one, by the way. It's not a little airdrop, this. Probably the biggest airdrop crypto has ever seen. Doesn't mean it's going to be the biggest token crypto has ever seen, but it's the biggest airdrop. So I'm going to try and give you as much information as I can about it because there's not a lot out there at the minute. There's not a lot out there. Now, again, I'm never going to stop showing you this image. Okay, this is always going to be on my screen. That left-hand column is the amount of Bitcoin being produced on a day. In fact, this one is going back a little bit further than that. This is going back over probably July, June, May, 3-4 months. 47,000 Bitcoin has been taken off the market. Sorry, has been added to the market. But look, BlackRock, they're buying almost 4 times the amount being mined. Master, almost 2 times the amount being mined. Then if you add up the rest, it probably is not far off half of the amount total that's being mined. If you add all them together, it's more likely 5 to 6 times the amount of Bitcoin that's being produced is being sucked out of the market. This cannot continue. If you don't listen to a single word I say from here on out for the next 5 years of the bull run, however long Rich Dad Poor Dad tells you it's going to run for, there is not enough Bitcoin being produced to fit with the demand. There is not enough. And until those numbers balance out, the price of Bitcoin is going to go up. That is the simple, hard and fat rule. I am not going to change my mind, and I'm going to keep telling you every single day. Good morning, Alpha and Protagonist. I hope you are well. I have not heard of your token. White House confirms the first Bitcoin and crypto report will release on Wednesday. Bitcoin Strategic Reserve is on the way. Wednesday, big day tomorrow. What's going to happen? FOMC, we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about the fact that this is likely to explode the market. Likely, not guaranteed. If it comes out and it's a damp squid, and Cynthia Lummer stands there and tries to tell us that the Earth is flat and tries to tell us there's a UFO coming from outer space to destroy the planet, then, of course, we're going to dump. But I think we're going to fall some way between Nirvana and the world is on fire, okay? I don't think it's going to be a nothing burger. I think the strategic reserve information that we're going to get is going to give us some clarity on that. And again, if I was the American government, I'd already be buying and stacking Bitcoin. Why tell everybody what you're going to do? Do it and then tell them. Look at Strategy. Strategy buys the Bitcoin over the weekend when the volatility is fairly low, and then they announce it on the Monday or the Tuesday. I would have been buying Bitcoin all along and then announce it tomorrow and say, hey guys, we've already got 100,000 Bitcoin or 50,000 Bitcoin to add to the pile. But anyway, maybe they won't do that. Who knows? Right, let's move on very quickly, see where we are. Remember, if you're new here, give us a follow, smash the like button. I think on YouTube we've just hit 6,700 followers, and believe you me, YouTube is like pulling teeth. I said this yesterday. We are putting out 4 times as many videos on X as we are on YouTube at the minute, because the attention is on X. There's nothing on YouTube. We're still putting videos up. I did one over the weekend, but we're putting out 3 and 4 minute videos on X, and I've pinned my X profile to the top. If you don't follow me, what you doing? Now, I didn't cover this yesterday, and I meant to, and I forgot. And I don't cover it most of the time because by the time we do the stream, the CME gap has closed. And the CME gap is where the price closes on a Friday afternoon and where it opens on a Monday morning. And if there is a gap, and you can see for the last, was it 5 weeks? 5 weeks, we've had this gap. And what does it do on Monday morning? It closes. And what do all of these wonderful influencers tell you? Oh, the markets are manipulated on a Monday morning, Jeffrey. They come in and they drive us down to liquidate everybody. Fills the CME gap. Done it for the last 5 weekends. I wanted to cover this and I completely missed it off the charts. And I should have included it. So what happens is, this gap is basically there's an order block there, or there's lots of orders there, and they close and they fill those orders and then they go on their merry way. Every Monday for the last 5 Mondays, this is closed. It doesn't always close. I think there's still a CME gap at about $10,000 or $12,000. It's never going to close. But there are others. I think there's one at 20 or 25,000, one at about 40,000. So they still exist. But when the price opens and it's kind of like within $2,000, $3,000, it tends to close, and then we move back up. So again, what happens every Monday is the price comes down to fill the gap, and people think we're going to come down for the rest of the week. But we don't. We fill the gap. Now, again, this isn't a guarantee that we're going to go up, but it is something I completely forgot to tell you about yesterday, and I should have done. So I apologise profusely. Now then, let's move on. See where we are. I'm going to tell you about the competition that we're running in a minute. Now, we don't mention Jupiter very much anymore, and the reason is they've kind of changed the business model in terms of how they promote themselves. So the airdrops and all the stuff that they used to do, the token launches, that's all in the bin. And the reason it got binned was not really Jupiter's fault. It was more the way that the tokens were using Jupiter to get exposure. So they promise you the Earth, you're going to be rich. And what happens is that you end up with $3 worth of a token, and you thought you were going to get $300. And then you kick off at Jupiter, and then Jupiter take all the flack. And I've made a video and a video and a video about this, explaining the faults with this program. And it's very, very simple. If there is going to be a token airdrop on Jupiter, you should know from the second it's announced how much your airdrop is going to be in terms of tokens, not price, clearly. So if there's going to be a token drop, let's call it Kishan. Kishan is going to drop, okay, on the 1st of September. And if you vote over the next couple of weeks on the token, you're going to get 100 Kishan. You can then work out by watching a few videos, watching a few YouTube people that will tell you a rough idea of the price. You'll be told that's going to be worth $10 worth of Kishan. And you'll think, you know what, fair enough. Then you get the airdrop and it's worth $11 or $9 and you're happy. What was happening was you were being told, oh, you're going to get all these tokens, you're going to be absolutely rich. And everyone was expecting the Earth and they got nothing. So they scrapped it. And they went away and said, right, we're just going to do airdrops now of Jupe tokens every 3 months to everybody that stakes them. And now they're going to launch a Jupe Lend program where you can borrow USDC against your Jupe, all that kind of good stuff. Now, this is what I want to cover on here. This is, on the left-hand side, the volume going through Jupiter. And then in the other columns, the next 8 columns, you see the volume going through the other aggregators. Jupiter is the single unicorn aggregator in Web3. It is the alpha, the omega, okay? It is the one. Now, I don't care what this price does. I don't care. This company makes millions and millions and millions of dollars every single week, okay? This token, and I have this conviction with lots of things, of course, you'll know if you listen. This token is going to have value because they are using a lot of the fees that are generated through Jupiter to burn, or not burn, send Jupe to the trash can. That's number one. Number two, they've just launched their own version of Pump.Fun. Now, what is Pump.Fun doing? It's moving to another layer 1. It's creating its own layer 1 pump chain. What's going to happen to Pump.Fun? It's going to die. Who's going to take its place? Probably the Radium one and probably the Jupiter one. So Jupiter's going to make even more money. Why would you go and use anybody else if you can launch a token on Jupiter, have it whitelisted on Jupiter, and then see the volume go through Jupiter? Until this changes, this token has a value an incredible number of times higher than it is today. I'm not saying it's going to be worth $100, but it shouldn't be worth 60 cents. Maybe $2, maybe $3 right now. But of course, all the FUD at the start of the year, everybody sold off with the token allocations, that kind of stuff. But it's had not a great first 6 months, but I'm expecting bigger things from it. Now, this one specifically goes out to Tariq, who probably isn't in chat just yet. But basically, there is a golden cross on Litecoin. The second one in its history. Look at that there, a golden cross. Are we going to see a $1,000 Litecoin? Who knows? Who knows? But anyway, if you watch this on Catch Up, Tariq, let it be known that I still include your coin on the stream from time to time. Moving on very quickly. Well, this is the one that I was going to probably make a video about, but there's really not enough information out just yet. So, Midnight is going to be the biggest airdrop crypto has ever seen. It is an innovative new blockchain empowering groundbreaking apps that safeguard sensitive commercial and personal data. Testnet is live. Okay, this is part of Cardano, and there's going to be 2 airdrops. Number 1, if you're getting messages telling you that you can go and buy a token and you can claim this airdrop, it's too late. The airdrop snapshot was taken, I think, on June the 11th, 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago. It's too late. It's already happened. Now, what we don't know is how exchanges are going to work with Midnight and the other one as well, which I can never remember the name. Glacier, is it? I don't know. So, if you hold Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, XRP, and I think the other one is something like Brave Token, if you hold those tokens and they're on an exchange like Binance, there's going to be some way of you getting those tokens airdropped to you between the Cardano Foundation, Midnight Foundation, and Binance. I wouldn't worry about that. If you have your Cardano staked directly on chain and you've got one of those wallets that only ever seem to work with Cardano, then I believe there's going to be a claim portal. I would not trust any link about this other than to go directly through Midnight. Okay? So if you want to know what to do, you go and follow Midnight. It's got 37,000 followers, doesn't have very many. Midnight.network is the website. Go and follow them and find out about the airdrop. But there isn't a lot of information about how they're going to work with exchanges. Okay? Now again, I'll go back to what I was saying about Jupiter a minute ago. If you get airdropped $50 of this token and you've only got $1,000 worth of, let's say, Ethereum, then what do you expect? Okay, what do you expect? You're not going to get $10,000 from this airdrop. You'll be lucky to get 1 or 2%. So be grateful for whatever you get. And if there is a reason why you didn't get the airdrop, and it's a valid reason, if there's a problem with you getting the airdrop and you think it's a valid problem, there will be a claims portal in the future from Midnight where you can go and tell them. Same with Jupiter. Jupiter did the same thing as well. So make sure that you level off your expectation. This airdrop is not going to make you a millionaire, but my belief is that you will get 0.5%, maybe 1% of your portfolio. Maybe you'll get that much. Maybe you'll get less. But I wouldn't expect an awful lot more than 5% of your portfolio. And again, that's probably going to be different depending on what you hold. If you hold Cardano, you might get 5%. If you hold XRP, you might get 1%. So just be careful with your expectations. You're going to get an airdrop. Binance will be sorting it out as we speak with Midnight, and you will be getting that allocation. That's all. That's all the information that's available right now. Okay? Let's move on then very quickly. I tell you what, we are struggling for numbers. We are struggling for numbers. How many are over here? Good morning. Oh, Kishan is over on Binance Square. I can read your conversations. I can see Peg in chat. Ranajit. I'm keeping an eye on this. Sheila is there as well. I'm keeping an eye on this because I want Binance Square to be a success, personally. Now then, very quickly, last thing, we are running a competition on our X account. I can't bring it up in too much great detail, but we are running a competition over there. It is running until the 31st of July. If you want to take part, you need to go and find us on X. That is all I'm going to say. And there I am in all of my beauty. You know how hard it was to get Photoshop to actually create that image without breaking Yeah, there's a few competitions over there for you to win prizes. I'm not going to talk too much about that because not why we're here. But I want to tell everybody that's not following. If you don't follow me on Telegram and you don't follow me on X, you're never going to know about the giveaways and the competitions. Okay? Now, we do a lot of giveaways on a weekly basis. If you don't follow us, you're never going to hear about them. If you don't watch our live streams, you're never going to hear about them. If you don't follow us on X, you're never going to hear about them. We can only give away so much. If you don't turn up, the quiz nights that we do, we get what, 15 people take part, 20 people take part, out of how many thousands of people watch? It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Right, Fed likely to hold rates despite Trump's call for cuts. Wednesday is going to be a hell of a day. We're going to have the FOMC rate decision. We're going to have Powell speaking. On top of that, we're probably going to have the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve announcement, the crypto strategy announcement. It's just going to be one of those days. And what do I say you should do on a day like Wednesday? You should sit on your hands. And I'm aiming that directly at Kishan. Sit on your hands, Kishan. Don't get liquidated. Because what's likely to happen on Wednesday is the price is going to do that, and it's going to do that, and it's going to do that. It's going to be all over the place. Don't get wrecked on Wednesday. Okay? In fact, we should just call it Rex Day. So, what's going to happen? There's a 97% chance the Fed will hold rates. I'm on board with that. Donald Trump called for a cut today. Traders are still betting on 2 cuts this year. Again, we need to see cuts, but we need to see them slowly. And I've run out of patience with Powell. I've absolutely run out of patience with him. A lot of very clever people who are a lot cleverer than me ran out of patience with Powell in June. I gave him a little bit more time. I now think he's been absolutely stubborn. But you have to understand, he can't just go and cut 1, 2, 3%. It will really wreck the economy. He has to do 0.25% cuts or even a 0.5% cut, but he has to do it slowly. It's like turning a tap on slowly. If you turn it on too quickly, water goes everywhere. Your cake's ruined. Turn the tap on slowly so it's a drip, and then another drip, and then another drip, and then the flow back into the economy of the liquidity will keep inflation down but allow the economy to grow. He just has to turn the tap on slowly. But if you don't turn the tap on, the tap will get rusty and it won't work and the economy will crash. And that is what Trump is worried about. So, they're not going to change the rates. There's the the odds. That column shows on the right-hand side, clearly shows that nobody thinks there's going to be a rate cut. Powell was paid a visit last week, as we know, by Trump, who stood next to him in a hard hat and basically crucified him in front of the cameras, made him look like an idiot, turned him into a meme. That's not going to have done Powell any favours, and it's not going to have done Trump any favours. Trump is not necessarily the best politician you ever want to have running your country, but he's effective. I'll give him that. And I think that Powell is either going to go soon, and I think if he doesn't cut rates, he's pretty much gone. If he does cut rates by 0.25%, he'll keep people happy. Trump is never going to be happy, but he'll keep people happy, and Trump's aides will tell him that at least he's making cuts. So without these cuts, what's going to happen? Well, he thinks inflation is going to go up too quickly if they cut rates. But there's only a 10% chance that the Fed cuts rates this year. And that, to me, is absolutely puzzling. The economy in America right now, I think, is doing okay. And yes, they're borrowing more than they thought they were going to borrow, but they have higher rates that they have to repay on their debt. And why do they have higher rates on their debt? Because interest rates are high. So Powell's going to speak on Wednesday. I think we could look at 2 rates this year, 2 rate cuts this year, but we need one. We need one now. You know, we need one in July. I don't want to be seeing 2 rate cuts in October and November. Although saying that, October and November, that's when I'm expecting the blow-off top to be. Maybe having all the rate cuts at that time, maybe that'll create the perfect storm. The Solana ETF, XRP ETF, the blue chip ETF was delayed until October. Rate cuts in October. Maybe that is Maybe that's the perfect storm for crypto. Maybe that's your $200,000 Bitcoin. Maybe that's your $10,000 Ethereum. Maybe. We have to wait and see. Now, again, I've been reporting this now for a lot longer than most. And the reason is that the ETF volume for Ethereum was a lot lower because Bitcoin is such a larger asset. It's 5 times the size of Ethereum. But in fact, since January, the Ethereum ETFs have been gaining a lot of traction and gaining a lot of ground because we're seeing days now where the Ethereum volume is higher than Bitcoin. Now, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy because Bitcoin is 5 times the asset size, and therefore it goes to show maybe should be somewhere near 3 to 5 times the volume. But Ethereum has flipped it on several occasions. Inflows have now gone on for 11 consecutive weeks. Bitcoin ETFs, on the other hand, saw a modest 73 million in net inflows, weighed down by early week red days. When was this published? Quite recently, I think. ETH ETFs are rewriting the playbook for the week ending the 25th of July. ETH ETFs bought in another 1.8 billion, their 11th consecutive week of inflows, and second highest weekly inflow since launch. In contrast, Bitcoin ETFs managed 73 million in net inflows. Okay, now we don't need to worry too much about that because we did see large outflows. And as I say, Bitcoin moves a lot more. So 73 million net is still not a bad day or still not a bad week. Now, this surge has come about because of several reasons, in my opinion. I think I've talked about this before. The biggest one for me is the staking rewards for the Ethereum ETFs. That is coming and probably is the biggest driver of these inflows. You've got an asset that was worth $2,500 that's now worth nearly $4,000. So it's gone up 60% in a very short space of time. And you're going to get paid maybe 2.5% on that asset every year. So it's a very desirable asset. The same as Solana is going to be a very desirable asset as well. And it will challenge Bitcoin in terms of desirability. And what you might see in the future is you might see a scenario where somebody might have $100,000 and they say, okay, I like Bitcoin, but I like Ethereum. Ethereum's giving me 2.5%. What I'm going to do is do a 50-50 split. I'm going to put $50,000 into Bitcoin, $50,000 into Ethereum, and I'm just going to basically hedge my bets because Ethereum is a smaller asset class. It might grow faster, and the 2.5% I'm getting. Bitcoin, store of value, always going to go up with the money supply and inflation. That's what I'm going to do. So maybe Bitcoin becomes like a bond and Ethereum becomes like a stock, and you're just weighing the odds. Now, I think it's 60-40 is the traditional rule. So maybe $60,000 goes into Bitcoin and $40,000 goes into Ethereum. And guess what? Ethereum is such a smaller asset. If you put $60,000 into Bitcoin, you get half a Bitcoin. If you put $40,000 into Ethereum, you're going to get it 10 or 11 Ethereum. So again, there's lots of different numbers you can play with. But the long and short of it is I think Ethereum is benefiting more now than Bitcoin from the ETFs. That's what I'm getting the feeling. And again, this didn't start, by the way, this didn't start in July when everybody told you it started. This started in January when I was telling you. I was saying keep an eye on those ETFs because those ETFs, those inflows might not seem as big as Bitcoin's, but they're going to do damage. Ethereum is not massively inflationary. 120 million tokens, and it changes very little over the course of a year. So this is bullish. Again, also, bear in mind, when the staking goes live, maybe that will be another driver for the price to go up. Maybe it's a sell the news event. Maybe. Again, lots of these things end up being a sell the news event. But certainly we're not going to $20,000 anytime soon, as most people are telling you. Right, let's move on very quickly. See where we are. Tariq is here. You missed my Litecoin thing. I will bring it back up for you in a second. ARK Invest picks Sol strategies for the 3.6 million Sol staking. What's behind the switch? I think it's pretty obvious what's behind the switch. Cathie Wood has named Sol Strategies as the new Solana staking provider, making a deeper move into crypto native yield strategies. Again, I think when the Solana ETF goes live, I think the demand will be strong. It's the third, fourth largest asset, fifth actually. I'm lying, fifth largest asset. I think there's going to be a lot of people interested in Solana. As long as Solana doesn't come out and damage itself reputationally, I think Solana is on a good track. So the decision to use the validator for infrastructure operated by Sol Strategies, a publicly traded Canadian company and institutional custodian BitGo. The ARK Digital Asset Revolutions Fund, launched in 2020, invests in 10 to 12 digital assets with a long-term strategy for 4 or 5 years. Very, very nice. We don't need to read about that. Being selected as ARK Solana staking provider represents significant validation of our institutional infrastructure and market position, said Leah Wald. Nice name. Their confidence in our validator capabilities reinforces our commitment to providing best-in-class staking solutions for institutional clients. Now, just to put this into some kind of context, if you stake 100 Sol on January the 1st, you will have about 106 Sol by the end of the year. Okay, so you're making 2 to 3 times the return you're getting on Ethereum, and you're making a massive return compared to what you're getting on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin only has asset appreciation. Solana and Ethereum both have staking rewards. Now, what I like about Cathie Wood is she makes these moves, and she makes them in silence. She's present in X. She does a lot of interviews. Every time she talks about Bitcoin, another zero appears on the end of the price of Bitcoin. But that's fine. That's what she's here to do. But when she's working in the background, she sold Circle shares. She sold them at the right price. She sold Coin shares. She appears to have sold them at the right price as well. So she's really good at reading the market. Probably one of my favorite indicators as to where the market is going. And she's done a really good job. She's made a couple of mistakes along the way. She sold out of maybe Tesla too soon. She then bought back in a little bit too high, those kind of things. But on the whole, she's absolutely knocking these trades out of the park. And she is up against the big boys. But ARK Invest holding their own. So again, bullish for Solana. Bullish for the ETFs, which are clearly going to be coming on board. And now for something that I am absolutely not a fan of. I am not a fan of this. I am not going to sit on the fence. Actually, yeah, I'll bring it up at the end, Tariq. I'll bring it up at the end. So, I don't think this is a great idea. And that is, you're seeing companies, treasuries now, starting to look at different assets for their treasuries. They're looking at Ethereum, Solana, BNB has been mentioned a couple of times. In fact, a few nation states are buying Bitcoin. I think, is it Bhutan are buying Bitcoin? Sui as part of a treasury. I'm really not a fan. Okay. Now, what I think is happening, and this is what I would do if I was a CEO, I would come out and say, hey guys, we're going to stick our treasury into Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and Sui. And then my share price triples. It's not difficult. I was on IG about 6 years ago, and a company changed its name on IG, and I'm trying to remember what they were called, but they basically went from being called Vulcan Technologies to something like Vulcan Bitcoin Technologies, and their company value went up about 800% overnight, and all they did was stick a word in. Mill City Ventures, what do we know about them? Have you ever heard of them? Nope. But they're getting the headlines. Why? Because they're picking Sui as part of their treasury. Strategy's got Bitcoin sewn up. Lee has got Ethereum sewn up. There's a few people out there buying Solana for their treasuries. That's sewn up. You go down the list, what have you got left? Nobody's picking Cardano, really. XRP, I'm sure, is going to appear out of nowhere and be on somebody's treasury. So Sui is up there as one of the top picks. So Mill City Ventures is the latest company to start a crypto treasury. The financial firm will buy Sui. More publicly traded companies are buying altcoins. NASDAQ listed Mill City Ventures announced on Monday a $450 million private placement to buy the 15th largest digital asset by market cap. The company which makes loans to small businesses, said it would buy SUI on the open market in a press release. Its stock was trading 11% higher on Monday, but over a 5-day period, it has gone up 270%. Now, two things. This is really good for Bitcoin. I've said this before, say it again. I think there's going to be a black swan in the future where some of these treasuries get liquidated. And there will be a flow of Bitcoin onto the market, which could bring the price down. Now, if they hold 500 Bitcoin, 5,000 Bitcoin, it's not going to make a blind bit of difference. I think Gemini sold 80,000 Bitcoin last week and the price went down and then came straight back up again. In a bull run, that's fine. But I can see cascading treasury liquidations at some point in the future. Now, what's going to stop that from happening is this kind of crazy, misplaced trust in some of these coins. SUI's been around for, what, 18 months? I think, 2 years. I did a video about it. I actually bought some tokens of SUI on launch day when it was, I don't know what it was actually. Was it about 30 cents? Something like that, 30, 40 cents. I bought SUI when it launched. I think it's a fantastic project. It's been around in the blink of an eye. If I had stocks in Mill City Ventures and it's gone up 270% of this, I am selling that stock. I may go and buy Circle stock with it. I may go and buy Strategy stock with it, because at least they are tied to the top end of the market. Bitcoin is the alpha, and Circle gives you access to a massive sector, which is stable coins. But I'm not going to back SUI. I'm not going to back Doge. Why didn't they go out and buy Dogecoin? What made them buy SUI? Why didn't they go and buy BNB? It doesn't make sense to me. Now, maybe they buy $450 million worth of SUI, and then SUI goes up 5 or 6 times in value, and then they sell it. Do you know what that's going to do to the SUI price? It's going to absolutely tank it. Okay? Now, maybe that's why SUI is dropped today. Maybe people realize this. But these companies that are buying these altcoins, again, it's good for Bitcoin because it takes the pressure off Bitcoin. But I think it's absolutely mental. If I sat in this boardroom and somebody said to me, we're thinking of going after SUI or XRP, I would literally launch my mug of coffee across the room. It would go across the room. And then I would stand up, and depending on my position in that boardroom, I'd either walk out or I'd walk up to the front and sack him or her. Okay? This is not the time to mess around with altcoins. It's the time to go deep into Bitcoin. If you're going to do this, you go down the Bitcoin route. It is a store of value. SUI is not a store of value. Now, if it's a quick flip, fine. But at some point down the line, it's going to depress the price of SUI. So this is really not good for your bags of SUI, in my opinion. And I think this is foolhardy, and I think it's stupid. And I could be on board if it was Solana or XRP or ETH. Outside of Bitcoin, that is. Why? Because they're going to have ETFs. SUI ETF is where? Nowhere yet. And then maybe 21 shares, a little tiny minnow like 21 shares will launch it and it'll get $100 million worth. Whoopie-doo. Not for me. Now, this is another massive move that doesn't appear to have made the headlines, and I don't know why. PayPal launches Pay with Crypto feature for businesses in push to reduce transaction costs by 90%. This is, I believe, in reaction to the plethora of crypto and Web3 payment solutions that are out there. PayPal is facing an existential threat, and that is the Kodak moment where they adapt or die. Very simple, adapt or die. Why do you even use PayPal? Why would you even use PayPal? Would you go anywhere near it? When was the last time you used PayPal? I used to use PayPal all the time 10 years ago. Not touched it in 4 years. Would I ever go near it? No. Okay? So PayPal has to change. Now, for me, the best thing PayPal could do is become an investment style bank where I can deposit my funds in PYUSD. I can earn a yield on PYUSD. I can go and invest in ETFs. I can go and buy synthesized stocks. I can go and buy Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I would basically replicate Binance, but do it for retail. That's what I would do. That's how I would try and stay in the game, because they have a user base which is very, very big. But in America, I think people use Venmo now, don't they? And that other one, I can't remember the name of. So are they going to be here in 10 years' time? Going back to that question that Beck posed yesterday, where he said 99% of crypto won't be here in 10 years' time. I think there's a very good chance that PayPal either acquires somebody to move into the space in a bigger way, like an exchange. There is a merger, so you could see CrackPal or PayCrack, although that might be the wrong kind of website. I don't know, but I can see a merger or an acquisition because they are being left behind. Now, the announcement to pay with crypto is available to online merchants to accept 100 different currencies. 90% of the $3 trillion crypto market cap pay with crypto. You've got Bitcoin, ETH, USDT, XRP, BNB, Solana, USDC, connecting up with Coinbase, Binance is in there, Phantom, MetaMask. I mean, this is what we want. Okay, this is what we want. But again, I'll go back to the question. If I was going to give me 1 second. If I was going to buy something on the internet and my money is in Phantom, I can just go and buy it from Phantom. Why would I use PayPal? That's the issue that they've got. Phantom, MetaMask, even MetaMask, running rings around PayPal. Okay. President and CEO of PayPal has said businesses of all sizes face incredible pressure when growing globally, blah, blah, blah. A shopper in Guatemala buying a special gift from a merchant in Oklahoma uses PayPal open platform. The business can accept crypto for payments, increase their profit margins. Now, again, there is a place, in my opinion, there is a place for PayPal for retail. Retail are not going to use cold storage wallets. They shouldn't really be using Phantom wallets. They should be using Binance or Binance Pay or whatever. I agree with that. But I think for a lot of people, PayPal can bring crypto to the masses. And we don't talk about PayPal enough because they don't do enough, in my opinion. The platform promises to allow instant crypto to stablecoin or fiat conversion and will connect to major wallets such as MetaMask. Again, this is a good move. I don't think they're in a position where they're going to die just yet, but I think this is their pitch to stay relevant. Now, I don't know if you remember, what's that online payment? Not online payments, that payment company. Western Union. Western Union is the biggest scam for, I won't say poor people because that's not the right way to describe it, but Western Union takes advantage of its position and abuses that position to the detriment of a lot of people that use it. And Western Union, you basically walk into a Western Union shop, you give them $50, and then somebody at the other end, in another country, maybe they are in Shanghai, for example, that person in Shanghai will get $35 and Western Union will take 30% cut. And they've been doing it for years and it's an absolute scam. And crypto has ruined their business. Debased it, totally ruined their business. And I, for one, are incredibly happy to see Western Union gone. I sent today somebody $16, $17, $18, whatever it worked out as. It cost me 4 cents to get that transaction, and it cost me 1/100th of a cent to send it to that person. I don't know where they are in the world. They got that money straight away. It doesn't matter to me, okay? I then sent somebody else another $50. It's in their wallet when they log in. I don't need Western Union. I don't need PayPal. You shouldn't need Western Union or PayPal. But it does have a purpose for a lot of people that don't understand how crypto works. The way you should see PayPal, it's like a mobile phone. You don't know how the internet works. You don't know how 4G works, but you can use Facebook and Instagram. Okay? So PayPal is like a mobile phone. It's really handy. Okay? So the more people we bring to crypto, the more adoption we get, the more volume that gets put through. the bigger crypto gets, because of course crypto makes all of those tiny little transactions and just gets bigger and bigger over time. Massive bullish news for me on that. And I will be glad to see Western Union. By the way, the reason I bring up Western Union is they're going to introduce crypto payments. And again, they'll still fleece you for 15% of the transaction. In a former life, we ran a business where people could pay us with Western Union checks. And once a week, once a month, however much we got, we'd go down to the little Western Union shop, walk in, give the guy $400 worth of these checks, and we'd get $400. I don't know how we used to get paid, actually. I think we used to get paid in cash. We used to get $400 worth of cash in pounds. Really archaic system. I mean, don't get me wrong. Binance launches yield-bearing product pegged to use as stablecoin deposits. The SEX says RWUSD aims to benchmark yields in real-world assets like US T-bills, but the product isn't available to US traders. Now, this is, in my opinion, this is the equivalent of Ondo. Ondo has USDY, which I believe pays you about 4%. Hold USDY, and you get 4%. The big one that we talk about, of course, is Syrup USD. Syrup US. It's actually Syrup USD, and one of the products is Syrup USDC. They are yield-bearing stablecoins that make the revenue by using your USDC as collateral. Now, T-bills, how this works is really simple to explain it. Let's say Binance goes and buys $100 million worth of T-bills. They will receive $4.5 million a year in interest. Maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, depending on the interest rates. You will then be paid that 4.5% minus whatever it costs Binance to do it. So you might end up with 4.2%. So you end up with $104.20 of RWUSD in the future. That's how it works. And if it's going to stay pegged to the dollar, you will end up with $104.20 of the token. Rather than the token appreciating in value to be $1.04, you get $104.20. It's very, very simple. Now, this is what Ondo has based one of its products on. Syrup is different, offers you a higher yield because Syrup attach it to over-collateralized loans. So if, I don't know, Cantor Fitzgerald want to borrow $100 million, they will deposit maybe $200 million worth of Bitcoin as collateral, and then your $100 that you've put in that pot will go to Cantor Fitzgerald, and they will pay maybe 7 or 8% on that. You then get 5 or 6%, and Maple takes the rest. That's how it works. So this is a really, really good idea. This is the second really good idea Binance has had in the last couple of months. The other one that I really like is the Bitcoin yield that they offer. So you can stake your Bitcoin through Binance, goes through a third party, and you get about 2 or 3% return on your Bitcoin. I really like that idea. I think it's really, really good. So for me, I'm solid. I'm happy. Binance is leading the way with a lot of these centralized exchange products. And there are a lot of other exchanges that I cover which simply don't cut the mustard. They don't cut the mustard. And I am looking at the one that I talk about all the time. I cover them every Sunday. None of this stuff is available on that platform. And they are really, really slow. Binance is really taking the lead. So it will pay 4.2%, and the APR will be determined basically by the announcement. So basically what will happen is, as Powell cuts rates, it cuts it to 0.5%, or it cuts 0.5%, these yields will drop over time, maybe down to 3.5, 3.6, whatever it might be. I remember a time, and I think they were about 3.1% on the 10 and 30-year bills. But again, they're not going to drop to zero. That's probably never going to happen. But again, it's a good reward. And for me, I like seeing this because you got to remember, Binance is an absolutely massive company. I don't know how many staff they've got, but they're a massive company. But they still manage to bring out these products. They still manage to drop these fairly innovative products. Now, I know that Ondo's been around for a year. Maybe it's taken Binance a year to build the product, but they've done it. You know, the yield on Bitcoin, again, they've done it. It's still a very early product in its infancy, a Bitcoin yield, that is. You know, you've got plenty of people have made videos about Bitcoin yield. We're not quite there, in my opinion. We're not quite there. So the point of the matter is, it will be there, and there will be multiple ways to earn yield on your tokens in the future. Now then, how long do we have left before I start talking about this? Got 9 minutes, perfect. I can talk about the quiz tomorrow night, talk about this, and then I can bring up the Litecoin article for Tariq. Digital slop. Solana CEO's brutal take on NFTs and meme coins sparks outrage. Jesse Pollack and Anatoly Yakovenko clashed on X over whether meme coins and NFTs have inherent value or just speculative digital slop. Discussion unfolded on X over the weekend revolved around the perceived value of meme coins. Yavalenko maintained his stance that these assets have no intrinsic value and compared them to loot boxes found in free-to-play mobile games. I've said this for years, meme coins and NFTs are digital slop. Pollack disagreed and said that the culture and artistic substance behind NFTs gives them inherent worth. He argued that it is similar to fine art, which holds value regardless of monetization. The content itself is valuable. If not for meme coins, nobody would bother using Solana. Others accused him of undermining the very sectors that revived Solana after FTX. Flaunch contributor Caps also criticised Yavalenko for dismissing creators and traders alike. Still, a few came to his defence. The co-founder of NFT Space Riders acknowledged the criticism but saw credibility in his perspective. I don't think he's entirely wrong. If people enjoy digital slop, they'll keep buying it. That's the point, he added. It's important to note that meme coins and NFTs remain deeply embedded in Solana's story. Now, I'm going to very quickly cover that off because I unfortunately come from old school, where when I did a business studies degree, and I learned something very important in a business studies degree. If you run a business, your business should have to make money. And if your business doesn't make money, then don't even bother starting the business. That's what I learned. It's very simple. If somebody asked me to make a video and said, I want you to go and make a video, I want you to go and get real artwork done, I want you to go and get it professionally edited, and I worked out that that was going to cost $250 to $300 to do that, and I charged the client $150, who pays the other $100? I do. So it's not a profit-making business. If somebody asks me to do a short on TikTok, for example, and that short takes me half an hour to record and edit and upload, and they pay me $100 for that short, and it's cost me nothing but my time, then I have made $100 or $200 an hour pro rata. So that's a good business to be in. NFTs, and I say this all the time, how many NFTs are too many NFTs? How many meme coins are too many meme coins? Nobody answers the question because nobody cares. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Pump.fun was an absolute abhorrent mess, and it took millions and millions of dollars out of the Solana ecosystem, and it fleeced 95% of the people, because I think 95% of wallets that ever interacted with Pump.fun lost money. It's trash. Now, having said that, if you look at artists, there are hundreds of thousands of artists around the world. But you'll know who Rembrandt is. You'll know who Dali is. And you'll buy them, won't you? You'll buy a Rembrandt or you'll buy a Dali. If I started painting and I didn't advertise myself and I put my paint work out there on a local market and charged £3 for my paintings are worth £3. If they've got no intrinsic value because there's no reputation attached to them, then they're always going to be worth nothing. And I think NFTs fall into that category. You have a very select number. Pudgy, Bored Apes, CryptoPunks, Azukas, maybe. That's it. Don't go any further. So they have value because they were the first. They were the big ones. They're still going to hold their value in the long term. But the rest of them are trash. With one exception. And that is, NFTs can be treated like a VIP club membership. So, take Monkey Muscle, for example. They pop into chat from time to time. That's why it's jumped into my head. You buy one of their NFTs, what do? They give you royalties. So, they give you the royalties that they get from people buying and selling their NFTs. So, you get some royalties once every couple of weeks. And I think if you hold it probably for the course of maybe a year, you're going to get your money back. Maybe even more than your money back on that NFT. But also you get access to their Discord channel. You also get access to the poker night I talk about every Sunday. So you join the club. Would you expect to go to a gym for free? No, you wouldn't. You pay a membership to the gym. You pay a membership to Spotify to get access to Spotify. You pay a membership to join one of these NFT communities. Or one of these communities that have an NFT. So I see the value in VIP NFTs. Meme coins have no intrinsic value and are based on culture. 99.9% of that value is based on, in my opinion, the hype around the coin and the people that come out there and talk about it on a daily basis. Okay? Mew has been around for nearly 2 years. It's still here. Bonk has been around for over 2 years. It's still here. Pepe, Doge. There are a few exceptions that have survived. The majority have gone to zero. We've covered some tokens on here. I think of some examples. Ponk, I think. I don't think that's ever done anything. There was an NFT giveaway a couple of years ago on Solana. It was a free NFT, by the way. Those NFTs were worth about $5 or $6. You could go and claim 5 or 6 of them. You could make $30, $40. That's what everybody did, and they sold them because there was no value associated with them. So for me, I'm totally on the side of slop. But at the end of the day, every once in a while, I will eat at McDonald's. That's not high-class dining, is it? That's what you would classify as slop. So from time to time, go and get yourself a McDonald's. Go and buy an NFT. Go and get a meme coin. It's not going to harm you. As long as your portfolio is heavy into Ethereum and Bitcoin and Solana and XRP, as long as that's heavy, go and spend $50 or $10 or whatever you can afford and go and buy a meme coin you think is going to run. Go and buy an NFT that you like the artwork of. There's no harm at all. Right, the last thing, which is for Tariq. Actually, 2 last things. Tariq, the second ever Golden Cross on Litecoin has happened. It was tweeted by Tom Crown yesterday. Again, I don't think we're going to see Litecoin at $300, but I do think we could go another 50, 60, 70% up from here, which would put it over $200. I think that's about fair for it. Finally, tomorrow night is the next quiz night. I know Mags missed the last one, so I'm reminding you all now. We're going to be giving away Mew to 3 lucky winners. The quiz will start probably about 10 past 7. That is about 10 past 5 UTC. We will start the stream as usual at 7. We'll give you 10 minutes to come in. Maybe the Oracle will do the chart. Maybe we'll bring up the website. There is a few updates on Mew. Then we're going to have 30 questions. They're not the same questions, all the same questions that we had in the last month. There are some new ones on there. So we expect it to be a good night. We're going to do Binance Live and Binance Square this time. So if you're on Binance Square, you won't be able to play the quiz on Binance Square. You will have to play it over on YouTube. You can't play it on Binance Square. You can't play it on Binance Live. Only play it on YouTube. So make sure, if you don't follow us on YouTube, top left-hand corner of your screen, you'll see our YouTube channel, Crypto Warehouse. You want to play the quiz, you play there. It's an interactive quiz, which means if I say to you, what color is Mew's face? And option 1 is white. You would type 1 in chat, like so. And then we will record your answer, and over time, a leaderboard will build up. Tariq will lead that leaderboard for a while, and then probably die off, as always. He'll Hidden Agendas will probably be in the top 5. Who else is there? Kabir will be in the top 5. Probably KB will be in the top 5. And I'll let you in on a secret. Oh, Chevan will be in the top 5 as well. I'll let you into a little secret. This is not going to be a difficult quiz. We've done difficult quizzes. The Wolf Swap one and the Maple Finance quizzes, they were a bit tricky. So this is going to be easy. Okay? We're not going to make it hard. We've got to give Tariq a chance to finish on the podium. Mags is working tomorrow. Oh, he's not working tomorrow. He'll be there. So Mags will be there. That's good. And as usual, I will put the questions and answers into Telegram tomorrow morning. So if you want all the answers, going to be in Telegram. In fact, what I normally do is I give you an answer on here. So one of the questions, this is for the 5 or 6 who are here that are going to play the quiz tomorrow night. One of the questions is going to be, how many followers does Mew have on X? How many followers does Mew have on X? So to find the answer, simply go to X, go and find the Mew account, go and follow them, and then go and see how many followers they got. That's it. That's going to be one of the questions. I don't think it's the decider question, but I think it might be question 28 or 29. So now you know, but keep it to yourselves. I think, based on the chat, I think we've probably got about 6 players in chat. So 6 of you have now got the right answer. Anyway, it's 12:02. Thanks for watching. No stream tomorrow day. Streaming tomorrow night. Then I won't be streaming on Thursday, but the Oracle will. And then I'm back on Friday. Next week, we do not have a planned stream for Wednesday. So what that means is I'm probably going to stream 4 or 5 times in the day next week. So probably Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday next week, I will stream in the day to make up for that. Because I only really have the Wednesday off. Because if I don't, it's like a long day. It's like a 14-hour day. And at my age, I can't do a 14-hour day. I could barely do a 10-hour day. Right, anyway, thanks for everybody for watching. See you all tomorrow night. Take care. Have fun.